A new stage of pressure on Russia has begun. This time, Trump didn't stop at a warning. He struck directly at the heart of Russia's oil industry. But many questions remain. Will these sanctions stop the Kremlin, or will they further intensify the war? That's what we'll discuss today.
During his second presidential term, Trump imposed new sanctions on Russia for the first time. However, according to analysts, these measures are unlikely to change the course of the war in Ukraine. The U.S. president had long threatened new sanctions against Russia, but had taken no concrete action in his second term until now. Finally, on Wednesday, October 22, the United States blocked transactions related to Russia's two largest oil companies, Rosneft and Lukoil, worldwide. Following this news, global oil prices fell by more than 5%. This, in turn, could push Russia's major clients, particularly India, to halt purchases of Russian oil. Reuters reports that as a result of the sanctions, Chinese state oil companies have also temporarily stopped buying Russian oil. The U.S. Treasury Department described these two oil companies as sources of funding for Moscow's war machine. This measure represents the most direct punitive sanction imposed on Russia during Trump's presidency. It is among the toughest actions against the energy sector since the war began in February 2022. In addition, the European Union decided on Thursday to completely ban imports of liquefied natural gas from Russia by 2027, another sector that had brought Moscow billions of dollars annually. According to the New York Times, there is still no indication that these latest measures will force the Kremlin to end the war. Meanwhile, Russia's economy is sinking deeper into a crisis.
Throughout the week, Trump's attitude toward Russia changed sharply. On October 16th, he announced that he would hold a summit with Putin in Budapest, but soon afterward canceled the meeting and announced new sanctions. Earlier this month, after a peace agreement was brokered in Gaza, Trump wanted to achieve a similar success in the war in Ukraine. However, Russia immediately rejected the peace proposal and demanded that Ukraine give up the territories it no longer controls. In fact, the summit between Trump and Putin in Alaska in August had also yielded no results. On Monday, speaking at the White House about the cancellation of the meeting, Trump did not hide his dissatisfaction with relations with Putin. "Every time I talk with Vladimir, our conversations go well, but they never lead to any results," he said.
Vladimir Putin, however, stated that these sanctions would deal a blow to the Russian economy but would not cause serious damage. This is an unfriendly move toward Russia and does not help strengthen the newly recovering relations between Russia and the United States, he said. But no self-respecting nation makes decisions under pressure, he added. Trump, meanwhile, responded sarcastically to Putin's remark that the sanctions would not have a serious impact. "I'm glad he thinks so. Well, we'll revisit this in 6 months," he said. The U.S. sanctions target two large companies operating on a global scale and more than 30 of their subsidiaries, including numerous oil refineries. Oil and gas trade make up nearly a quarter of Russia's state budget. At the same time, Ukraine's long-range, high-precision strikes had already put Russia's oil industry under pressure. The new sanctions also target the so-called shadow tanker fleet, international tankers with concealed origins used to transport oil. However, this too has not caused serious damage to the Russian economy. According to analysts, these latest sanctions may also have little effect since Russian companies had already anticipated increased sanctions pressure and prepared for it. Putin, for his part, appears ready to accept significant economic losses to achieve his goals. This can also be seen in the course of the war. This year, Russia has captured several thousand square kilometers of territory, and the war continues bloodily and without progress. It is said that Russia has lost more than 200,000 soldiers. Internal opposition to the war has been firmly suppressed. Putin has shifted the country's economy to a wartime footing, and he is in no hurry to end the fight.
Before the sanctions, Ukraine had already begun requesting Tomahawk cruise missiles from the United States. By doing so, it seeks the ability to strike deeper into Russian territory. Putin, however, has threatened a sharp response to such a move, saying these missiles are very expensive and difficult to supply in sufficient numbers. In the meantime, European leaders have postponed the issue of using Russian assets until December. The discussion concerns frozen Russian assets in Europe, about $163 billion, which could be used as loan guarantees for Kyiv. This money would offset the reduction in U.S. aid and could also pave the way for the purchase of Tomahawk missiles. However, European countries remain divided over using Russia's funds for Ukraine, especially after Moscow warned of painful retaliation. Concerns over the possible consequences have grown. At the same time, a cold northern winter is approaching, which could cause fighting on both sides to slow down for several months. As for a peace agreement, Trump seems to be changing his position once again, as usual.